So man is a really, really simple animal, a human male. And this is going to be on woman and the role the woman played in downfall of Muslim society. To some extent inadvertently, because all of these things are influenced by one another, male and female. But I think women are often given a pass in this, even though they play a primary role. And the reason why they have played a negative role also has to do with the way how men treated them. So there's plenty of blame to go around, but this particular aspect has to be understood. Until it's fully understood, it's not going to be fixed. And to basically lift a condition of a Muslim society out of a gutter that it's currently in. Because with all due respect, Muslim society, Islamic world, is not only in a gutter, but it's like it's buried under the ground. There is only so much humiliation and shame you can actually accept in a material world, the world that we exist in, until you start to hide yourself from yourself. Until you start getting, because it's not just what's happening to you as a person and as a group, but what others are doing. Because others are looking at all of this, and make no mistake about it, man. This genocide that's happening right now against Palestinians is not just a genocide against Palestinians, but genocide against Muslims, specifically. Because people know there's about 2 billion Muslims in the world, near about, give or take a few. And that's a huge amount of people, man. Like everybody knows, I mean, we understand numbers to some extent at least. And when you say 2 billion, that's a large number. And if you have 2 billion Muslims and 20 million Jews, people understand these orders of magnitude. Just naturally, we do. This is such a colossally large number by a factor of a million or 1,000, whatever it is. It's utterly ridiculous, right? And you wonder, how would Muslims be dishumiliated by this such a fragmented population? Like, even if you take, it doesn't even matter. Let's say that there are 2 billion Muslims and all the other people are Jews. 2 billion is a large number. You cannot be humiliated to this extent. You just can't. It simply doesn't make any sense. Like, listen, you can lose the war. There are levels of losing a war, but to allow yourself this level of humiliation and say, you know what? In front of the whole world. Because usually these genocides that used to happen in the past would happen away from society. You may hear about something happening, but you're not really witnessing it live on TV in front of cameras as it's happening. And this doesn't need to be the case. It absolutely doesn't have to be the case. It's only the case because Muslims have been programmed over the course of the years. And this is, by the way, the very newest programming that's been going on for nearly 2 years. I remember the world. Now, the world did not start with the genocide in Gaza. There is a world prior to the genocide in Gaza. I very much so remember that world. Jews hesitated a little bit before they invaded Gaza. They hesitated a little bit even before they attacked from just the planes, bombardment. I don't think they had any idea they could get away with what they're getting away with right now. And you can clearly see, based on the nature of propaganda, how it shifted. Where today it's completely taken for granted that they're just going there and just killing civilians, plain and simple, just because they want to. There is no even pretend that they have to use some kind of propaganda to hide. No, that's like a norm now. It wasn't a norm 2 years ago. This is what happened. This is what happened over the course of almost 2 years now. Well, we're getting towards 2 years. So you have to wonder, How did things become this bad? Who participated in this? And there are plenty of things we can get into, and I went into this before. I think what's happening, by and large, is not just Jews genociding Palestinians, but every single Arab regime, except for Yemen, every single of those regimes is complicit in that. They're actually allies of those same Jews. This is not a joke. In fact, every single Muslim country other than Iran who has disagreements with Israel for some other reasons, based on their own hegemony in the region, they wanted to be big daddy in their region and came across Israel. Seems to me they've been able to kind of dominate Arabs very easily, but Israel is the one that didn't want to accept Iranian domination there. And as a result of that, they became enemies. But let's just be real. Let's accept the facts here, right? Every single Arab regime has, by now, helped Israel dominate Palestinians to the point of conducting genocide against them, hand in hand. They're doing their role in it, and Israel is doing their role. The fact that just a couple of months ago, I guess almost a year now, whatever it is, about a year ago, the Arab regimes in the region literally were using their own weapons, anti-air defense, to intercept the Iranian missiles sent to Israel so that they would explode those missiles in the air in their own territory to damage their own citizens, to not hurt, so that those missiles wouldn't get to the Israel. While the Israel is literally obliterated. I mean, it's unconscionable, but it's not that hard to understand. These are not really Muslim regimes. These are just Arab Satanist regimes who rule over Muslims. That's what's happening. Be all that as it may, you still have nearly 2 billion Muslims in the world, near about, maybe more, maybe less, but about 2 billion, who are looking around and accepting that there is a genocide happening and that that's a norm. That there is at this point nothing to be done but to keep just saying, hey, there's a genocide going on. You can only say that so many times, right? If you say there's a genocide going on 100 times, maybe it has some kind of relevance or meaning. If you say 1,000 times, if you say 10,000 times, then the word genocide then becomes just like the word chair. It loses any kind of meaning, just whatever, chair, okay. It has no any longer any kind of a meaning. No meaning. It's just like a normal word. Okay, that's fine. Yep. Genocide. It's happening. I guess that's a norm. So you have to also be very careful. How do you combat? Even if you have all the good intentions in the world, you have to understand how to combat that Jewish propaganda. It's not just parroting here. There's a genocide. Until it's okay, well, I guess it's a norm. Everything seems to be going normal. Nothing is changing in my life, in anybody's life. So I guess genocide is just like another thing that's happening. That's fine. Some people are for it, some against it. You just basically banalize that to the point it doesn't mean anything anymore. Yeah, who's for? You are for. You are against. Okay, truth is somewhere in the middle. Let's now go have a drink and go home and whatever. That's basically what it's reduced to. It's embarrassing. So I want to get a completely different picture outside of the politics. How did we get to this point? And it has to do with the role of the females in society. Women mostly, right? And man, any man is a simple animal. Man doesn't really want all that much. He doesn't really desire much. He genuinely desires two things. Men, the real red-blooded males desire two things. Not much different from animals, actually, but two things. That's a desire. Then there is like a life accomplishment. Sure, you want to raise your children, all that stuff, all the good stuff, right? Family, etc. But I'm talking about male impulse. I'm talking about impulse of maleness. That's what I'm talking about. It desires two things: to eat and to fuck. That's it. To eat and to fuck. That's it. Those are the two primary motivating factors. Everything else is a game to accomplish those two things in different ways. So the more money you have, the more power you have, the more you can fuck. I'm using that word specifically, F-U-C-K. I want to use the real word. You want to fuck. You want to fuck a lot. And you want to eat a whole lot. You want to eat and you want to fuck. And to a man, just a silhouette of a woman is enough to get him hard. Just the silhouette of a sexy woman with womanly shapes, with a only glass hour shape, is enough to get a man hard. Because that's what the fucking is to a man. You get to a woman, you bend her over, and you fuck her. Then after that you go to eat, and the third thing the man does is just nothing. That's why I don't mention it. The third thing is to just do nothing. To sit down now and enjoy until the next desire to eat or to fuck. This is what man impulse is. That's it. Very, very simple animal. Very lazy animal as well. Woman is a much more complex animal. Woman requires a massive amount of complexities. She's not happy just to eat. In fact, food to her is nothing. She'll eat because she has to eat. But food is not primary motivating factor for a woman at all. And even fucking is not. Fucking is important, but only as a final act of a much larger and much more complicated love game. Love game is so important to a woman. The context of fucking is about 100 times more important than fucking itself. This is the reason why a man will fuck any woman. He has a desire, sure. He has his own taste. He will rather fuck a more beautiful woman than the ugly woman. But if things come to shove, I've seen men who would literally fuck a dog, and I don't mean literal animal, but who will fuck a monster-looking woman if they don't have something better at the moment when they feel like sticking their dick into vagina. That's the only thing that's... I've seen men fuck genuinely like something that would be like a scarecrow would be probably more appealing. Because the whole point of that fucking is just that satisfaction, that momentary thing where you fill in a hole and ejaculate. Woman cannot do that. Doesn't mean anything. She can do it, but it doesn't mean anything to her. The context of the love game is infinitely more appealing than just the final part of the love game, which is an actual sex, an actual penetration, an actual vaginal sex that would lead to orgasm. The love game, the complexity, the power dynamics, the man coming to her, giving her the look, touching her the right way, pushing her, pulling her hair, slapping her ass as she starts to shake in her knees due to his power and self-control and confidence and just the sheer will, the imposition of himself. Like he comes there as this master and he just does everything the right way. He has to be also gentle and brutal at the same time. Brutal in the way that he kind of owns the world, but then he, with all that power and superiority, kind of comes down to her and treats her like a little rose. Like something is like, oh, he will show me this gentleness. I have the power of this unbelievable ball of energy manifested in a human male, and this ball of energy loves me, specifically just me, myself, and I tremble in his presence, and at the same time, he loves me, he adores me, and he fucks the ever-loving shit out of me. And then he goes out to impose himself upon every other field that he's involved in, that he dominates. That's what women loves. They don't just love some schmuck who's gonna, that's why they can't just fuck any man. They can for money, right, whatever, but they need that context, they need that power dynamics, they need that man to own them. That's the whole point. The whole point is not just to lay down and have a 2 minutes of sex. So woman is much more complex being, just generally so, than man. So there is this sacred union between man and woman. Like literally this primordial union that exists between man and woman. Division of labor that comes with that. Woman focuses on this over here, man focuses on that over there. And that's basically how it's been for the past, since the dawn of human time. We don't have the memory of this. We just know that every society we go into, it was some version of that. And everything's been working fine. Everybody seems to be happy. We go to different struggles, to different trends in society, more conservative, more liberal, throughout history. But the point is, this is kind of the framework. There's man, there's woman, and then there's interaction. No matter how much power man has, it doesn't make any difference because his desire is to, like I said, to fuck and to eat. Not all of these other things that men seem to have accomplished in the history of the world is meaningless to him. It's literally meaningless. It doesn't give him satisfaction. The point that what satisfies a man is to find the woman. He wants that woman because that particular thing is what gives him the satisfaction. Woman doesn't have that kind of feel for man. She likes this whole context more than just the man itself or himself. Be that as it may, the issue is that playing his role in society, man is a shepherd. Man establishes all of these things that woman desires. All of these things that women desire to have. So she will favor a certain type of man who she believes can give her that. And we establish all of these societies all around the world throughout history. But like I said, in his alligator brain, man is a very simple animal. He doesn't have desire for all these complexities. He just wants to have a woman to fuck, something good to eat. He loves to eat. A man loves to eat. They love to eat. Everything else is window dressing. They have to play that game for a woman. They have to create all of these different things for a woman. Woman is impressed by all of these different things. This is all done for the sake of having this family life, family context, building societies, because there's a woman in there. If there is no woman, none of this would exist. There would be no need for it. If you look at gay couples, male gay couples, they don't have to go to this whole love game. Hey, there is a gay guy over there. You're gay too. Hey, you guys can hook up, right? Yeah, go ahead. That's all it takes, literally. That's it. Hey, you're gay. You're gay too. Okay, these guys are a couple. The only thing that matters, of course, one has to be usually more masculine, one more feminine. So if you have two feminine gay guys, they're probably not going to hit it off. But the point is, it's very simple. With women, you have to buy her a rose, flowers, show her a good time, take her out on a date. I'm talking about your own wife. You have a wife, you want to fuck tonight? You can't just go in there and get in a bed and start fucking her. You have to create the mood, the atmosphere. And before you can create the, before you can start doing a role play for sex, prior to the role play, there has to be a whole other play completely unrelated to sex. Get her a flower, get her a box of chocolate, take her out for a drink, hold her by the hand, go for a little walk, maybe take her to movies or something, whatever it is. This is going to be basically a date night. What is a date night for gay guys? Like the Rammstein song, you got a pussy, I got a dick. So what's the problem? Let's do it quick. The problem is that's not what women want. That's what, if you were gay, that's what gay guy would probably want. Hey, you got a dick? Let's have sex. That's it. There's nothing deeper there. They're both happy. With women, this whole game is required. So woman plays generally throughout the society is a very important role, a soft power that somehow penetrates every aspect of society. And remember, it comes down to bearing of children. Any child, male or female, usually has no contact with father for the first 10 years of their life. That's just a fact. There's really no reason. In a traditional societies, where male kind of does the work, it's the femininity that attracts a child. It's that softness of mother's voice, of mother's touch. Mother is the one that checks your homework, usually. Again, there are counterexamples to all of these things, but this is a rule. Mother is the one that literally is in your... You're smelling, you're like 2 feet away from your mother for the first 10 years of your life, one way or the other. That's when you start to slowly separate. You start to kind of get into those preteen years, teenage years, when you kind of start to rebel a little bit, whatever. Then you kind of get into young adulthood. Suddenly your dad plays a much bigger role. Why? Why suddenly your dad playing such a massive role? Well, you're not kind of ready for life. So, on the outside, so to speak. So now your father might hook you up with a job, with a career, with a profession. You now realize what your father does. You realize that your food doesn't just appear on a table with a magic wand, that somebody worked for that food. And you realize, hey, there's this whole world of my father out there where he does all of these things to secure certain life for me and my family. Now I have to do that role, right, as a man. So you kind of get to meet your father and you realize, wow, I have so much in common with my dad now, even though for much of your life up to that point, he was just some kind of authority figure, nothing more than that. You loved him as a dad, sure, but you were mostly closer to your mom. Why is this important? Can you imagine how close you are to your mom? Every single male has a, under normal terms, a mom. So all of these misogynistic things that are happening, they're happening even given the fact that every single male that's misogynist came out of the female's vagina and spent the next however many years strictly in the presence of his mom, who reared him and raised him. So you wonder, if that's the case, why is he so misogynistic? Where was the breakdown there? Does he hate his mom? Where is this coming from? Why would you have, how can you, basically my question is this, and I had a very complex relation with my mom, but I love my mom. How can you possibly be misogynistic and love your mom at the same time? Like, just how? So there is a breakdown here. There's a breakdown in some ways. Think about that. Because you as a woman, you're raising a child who somehow grew up to be some misogynistic degenerate. How do you feel about yourself? How do you feel about yourself? So you're telling me you have access to your child, you have like literally uninterrupted full access to this freaking baby that cannot speak. They cannot eat without you feeding it. What are you raising? Why are you raising Jeffrey Dahmer? Why are you raising George Bush, who's going to become a psychopath to kill people? How are you raising all these psychopaths? Why? Is that also to be blamed on men? When they play next to no role under normal circumstances, right? And certainly not throughout history. Most of the time, this has been the setup. Moms raise children. How do you raise psychopathic murderers? How do you raise creatures that you don't instill in them the sense of justice? Real justice, not the children's justice. Not a type of education where you're educating your child in the children's stories so that, hey, now that you're older, let's scrap these children's stories and let me teach you about the real world. This is insanity. This is nonsense, right? It's insanity. So women have to take a blame for that. You see that often in a black society these days. There are no men present at all. Almost every male that you see in any kind of a public life who's black guy, is like, I was raised by my grandmother and my mother and my sisters. Where are the males? Isn't that unbelievable? Where are the males? Oh, they don't exist. Okay. All right. So you came out of the environment of solely being surrounded by women. Your grandmother who raised you, your mother who stayed there with you. I don't even care now who is right or wrong. I'm not going to get into the societal issues here. But here is a person, he's a male, raised by his mom and his grandmother. And yet he hates women. He's a misogynistic degenerate who just looks at the woman. Why? How were you raised? There is the breakdown here. How did these women treat this son of theirs? That he now hates women, that he's now a grown-up and treats women like shit. Think about that. There is a failure in women here, general, across the board, not just in Muslim societies. It's a weird thing. It's something to consider. Anyway, as I said, male is a generally weird animal, human male. He wants to accomplish a lot, but he doesn't know why. There's no real motivation that makes any sense. And the best example of that is when Alexander the Great visited Athens and went to meet Diogenes, a preeminent philosopher at that time, a homeless guy who was not that much different from Socrates, but didn't have his own Plato to write his stories with the same degree that Socrates had influenced Plato. In any event, we have a lot of information about Diogenes from other writers who mentioned him. The guy who declared himself citizen of the world. He wasn't bogged down into all this nationality and tribalism. No. I'm a citizen of the world. He said that in the time of Plato. In any event, Alexander came to visit him as he was laying down under some tree. And what did he say to Alexander? Move away, you're blocking my sunlight. He was nicely sitting there, getting some tan. He wasn't going to stand up for this king of kings. Whatever, what do you want? I came for the advice, said the... It is absolutely incredible. I don't know what just happened here. It looks like I dropped... I guess I said some statement that generated my phone without my desire for that to open up and gives me a description of what the meaning of the word is. What a nonsense this was. What just happened? Just completely blocked my train of thought. Anyway, so he comes to Diogenes, move away from my sunlight. What do you want? Came for the advice. What are you doing? What kind of advice? What do you want? What are you doing? I'm in the process of conquering the whole Greece. Really? Okay. What are you going to do after you conquer the whole Greece? I'm going to conquer whatever he said, Asia Minor. Huh, really? What are you going to do after you conquer that? I'll conquer this territory, and that territory, and this territory. What are you going to do after that? I'll conquer the whole Persia. I'll conquer the whole India. What about after that? I'll conquer the whole world. What are you going to do after that? After that, I'll just lay down and relax and enjoy my life. He's like, well, why don't you just do that immediately? Why are you doing all of these other things? You can just go ahead right now, enjoy your life. Why are you doing all these other things? And it's actually really amazing to just kind of consider that for a second. Why did Alexander conquer Persia? What was the point of that? What was the point of fighting that war? Like, isn't it unbelievable? We celebrate all these figures with some nonsense kind of conquering. Like somebody conquered and created the empire. Why? Why is that important? Why is it important for some Macedonian guy to conquer, like, let's say, India? What does he have to do with India? Think about people living there in India. Hey, there is some guy in Macedonia on the other side of the globe who wants to conquer you. Why? Why does he want to conquer me? What do I have to do with him? I don't want to conquer him. Whatever you think about these nonsense, never-ending conquests, just because some guy wants to prove that he's some kind of a man. Whatever you think, right? This happened over and over and over and over again. Like, there was no, one thing is to say, hey, there are a group of people who struggle for some kind of a liberation because they're being oppressed. Any kind of oppressed human beings should strive for liberation. But just a random fucking guy, a king already, he wants to go ahead and conquer another kingdom, and another one, and another one, and another one. And what a weird thing. Why is that something that we value so much? We celebrate these people. We celebrate them as if though they're somehow important. Anyway, there is a wisdom in that statement. He didn't have to write long essays and long treatises and books or whatever. He was almost like a meme of today. Like with one little meme, you can penetrate as deep as the full book of full information. If you know how to put string the sentence in a way in which it will penetrate to all the noise and nonsense and bullshit. And that's what Diogenes did with many of these statements. He ended up being wiser than Plato and Socrates, even though he wouldn't engage in those senseless debates that Plato did, who I love. My favorite philosophers are Plato and Dostoevsky. But it's amazing how Diogenes kind of just penetrated through all the nonsense. He was just very, very, not just logical, but no nonsense kind of guy. Just a great man. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is man is accomplishing a lot of things, but there's no real motivation as to why. None of this really matters. But man is basically taking this role as a conservative patron, shepherd of the society, where he protects women, he protects his children, so the new generation can come up. So man is generally more conservative than women, just in general. Women are usually more liberal. And it's almost like, as I said before, women is a more complex being, man is much simpler. But in this role that they kind of set up for themselves as a result of this man-woman union, this primordial union of male and female, man almost has to protect the woman from venturing too deep into her own liberalism, into her own exploration of these weird things. So he kind of stands there as a bulwark, as some kind of a weird super ego against women kind of going completely batshit crazy in all of these desires that they kind of continually try to aspire to. Like one weird thing is also like women shopping. They love shopping. I mean, shopping to women is like a genuine pleasure. Like just think about that, what that means. Here's a man's pleasure. He wants to eat, which is something you have to do, and you just now enjoy doing something that you have to do anyway. Same thing with fucking. You have to have sex. So now you just enjoy that thing you do. But shopping is such a weird thing. It's such a learned kind of trait. But what do you mean shopping? Like I need to wear shoes, sure. But this whole concept of going to the mall to just shop around and buy millions of useless things, this is again a woman thing that again have penetrated many men as well. But it's a woman invention. Like she wants to go and shop. And the reason why I'm using this as an example of woman-man is It's deeper than just shopping. It's just basically getting useless things, meaningless things. Sometimes you buy a woman a gift, like, it's almost like a child. It's such a weird thing. Child of a rich parent, right? When you have all these things, it's your birthday, and your parents now bought you for your 10th birthday $1 million to give. You have 1 million other gifts, but now there's another 1,000,001 gift, and you get like this wow for like the last about nanosecond of okay, and then you just put it away and never touch it again. It's kind of that kind of thing that I noticed from women as well. This is no critique on women. Seriously, I'm just explaining how it is. There's nothing wrong or right with all of this. I'm just describing differences between males and females. Now, in a healthy society, there will be input from both male and female, women and men, into how society functions. And you hear women's input into all of that. What ended up happening in Muslim society is women has been silenced. Yeah, I understand that Islam liberated women, gave women a lot of rights. I'm not going to get into that. I'm saying, think about all the things in Muslim society we can find that it's wrong. It's not wrong because they're staying true to Islam. It's precisely wrong because they're swerving away from Islam. And they've been doing that ever since Islam started, right? Nothing unusual there. This is exactly how men behave in every kind of field. Everything they usually degenerate everything. So I've never went to a mosque and see a woman speak. Never heard a woman speak in a mosque. I'm not talking about to give a khutbah, but just to kind of, okay, we brought in some woman, somebody who's going to give you some perspective on something. No, never heard of that. And as I said before, woman is, one thing to kind of just also mention, woman is the one who chooses. You see, if you live in a lawless society, all man has to do is to grab woman and fuck her. But that's not the society we live in. We live in a world where there are rules. So those rules, again, involve this primordial union of man and woman and the division of labor. And there's a lot of structure that comes with that. And one of those structures is like you can't just go ahead and rape a woman because you like her, because you saw her and she was sexy. No, that's not how it works, right? So man goes after a woman, and woman will choose if she's going to take that man or not, if she's going to give that man a shot or not. So woman is the one that ultimately chooses the traits in men that will be passed on. Because if there's a man who no woman wants, I don't care how great that guy is, his genes are not gonna go anywhere. It comes down to what is it that woman wants, and those kind of men will get women. And as I mentioned before, women want certain particular things. They also are. We gotta give them credit as well that generally they do pick also intelligence. And certain level of character and principles that man has that woman respects. It's not just brute force or whatever, though that plays a massive role, especially in sex games. A lot of the other stuff can be superficial as long as he has all these powerful traits, and then a lot of men, what they do, they put the superficiality of intelligence, basically just learn how to play a game. They appear certainly in front of women. Women give them a chance because they really feel attracted to them due to these sexual traits, powerful traits, things like that, money. But there is no wisdom there. And one thing that the Western societies have done over the last couple of centuries, I guess, maybe a few centuries, I guess, is they have really valued knowledge, the knowledge in and of itself. So this is the reason why you can see in the Western societies they celebrate these great writers. And it's not just because somebody wrote some freaking book, but writings that makes you think, writings that makes you grow intellectually, right? So writers, scientists, philosophers, artists, all these people who inventors, right? There's just too many of them to count, right? And they all seem to be coming somewhere from the West. And you realize, wow, it's not just that they have a lot of those, but they genuinely seem to value them. At least up until now. Now the Western society is completely crumbling. And it's basically we come to the end of that. That's pretty obvious now with Trump. Literally, we came to the end of that. That golden age is over. It's finished. Western society is over. We'll see if the China is going to rise next, or is this going to be simply the end, and there's not going to be anything else, or is China some kind of version of Gog and Yeshjuj and Mehjuj in English, Gog and Magog? I don't know. But what I do know is that the American century is over, and thus Western centuries are over now, officially. Now we just have to see how it plays out, the descending. What's the end game? But the end game is here. But up until now, they genuinely celebrated these people. And this became an aspiration for the young minds as they're shaping themselves into the young adults, and now the adults who are going to be taking over the burden of society and to take society to the next level. This is who will be their influences. The great writers, poets, scientists, inventors, artists. These are the kind of people in the West that have been venerated to the high degree. And if you look in the East, specifically in the Muslim world, I don't see none of that. I see some big, I don't see any veneration of anybody that's worthy. So the issue here is there has been a negative system set up in the Muslim world. And it breeds negativity, it breeds negative virtues. It breeds negative selection of individuals for any position. This is the reason why the Muslim world, I always say, it's filled with Jafars. If you look at movie Aladdin, it seems to me that every Muslim leader seems to behave and act, especially in the Arab world, but pretty much all of them, they act like, they seem like Jafars. I don't see, like, at least again, up until now, because we can take away last decade, if you will, this is now crumbling Western world. But up until then, when you see some of these great Western leaders, you really have to learn, you can learn a lot from them. Whether they're left or right, these are smart individual creatures. They learned a lot and you listen to them, and then you kind of see, yeah, they may have some faults, but they seem to be led by high-level virtues. Like genuinely. And they may fail in their attempt to kind of aspire to those virtues that they are being led by, but that's what seems to kind of motivate them. And then you look in the Arab world, who in the Arab world has those kind of virtues? Just look at these creatures, man. You think MBS is led by those kind of high-level virtues? You think that the Sisi is led by those virtues, or Assad prior to him? These are all Jafars, one Jafar after another. These are degenerates, man. So, and it's not just at the top level. That's how it exists in every segment of society. The director of a school is just like that. The post office director is just like that. They set up the negative selection negative cadre selection. So that you're constantly picking people based on the principles that they will produce such results that the people that will come into a position of any kind of power, on any level, who are not going to be worthy of those positions in any way, shape, or form. And as a result, if you have a couple of centuries of that, you find Muslims in the absolute gutter. You will always do that. You literally have two groups of people moving the opposite direction. You have people in the West moving towards high-level virtues, and people in the East, I don't even know what they're doing. It's just unbelievable, right? It's just embarrassing. So why did I say that this is about women then? The reason why it's about women is because feminism is absolutely a false liberation movement. That's crazy. But with or without feminism, a woman has been given a voice in the West and has been having a voice over the past couple of centuries. Seriously, even when they didn't have full rights, there was kind of societal decision. The man kind of vote, just not a female business, so to speak. But the point is, there is a female perspective of the world. So the female chooses particular men. So female looks in the Western world to see a man who she believes will give her a great prosperity in the future. And she doesn't just look at somebody who's going to take her shopping. She's looking for a man with character. It starts with that. Because as I mentioned before, in the Western world, over the last, because after the Enlightenment and after all that, this is when they implemented. This is not something that goes on too far into the past. The West was diseased. It was literally diseased society. And even the Enlightenment has many holes in it. And it's a let's say concept that has the expiration date. You have to move past that and build upon that. Enlightenment in and of itself is not a goal. It's just another tool you use until you reach a higher level. And I think they got stuck a little bit. They gave themselves to the cult of science as opposed to the real science, and they ended up basically becoming first Satanists, and now the end result of that is this obvious other side rebelling against that fascism, and then return to complete primitivism with Trump. Basically just a reversal of degradation of society, degeneracy. But anyway, in the East, but up till now, like I said, you did have that as what motivates women to, what is it woman looks in a man, who looks for in a man. So it's not just straight up, hey, here's a rich guy who's going to take me shopping. That's important to have somebody who's going to be able to provide for family, sure. But that can't be the only trait you're looking for. Otherwise, you're just going to have degenerate nobodies who have absolutely no concept of a virtue, of a high level value, of understanding to think critically and logically and reasonably and to elevate himself to a higher level. You're just going to be some guy who fucking owns a gas station and he's making money off of that. And he's going to fucking pay for your shopping trips, and that's it. If that's the only thing you aspire for, this is the type of man you're going to go for. But women in the West generally didn't tend, like it's a complex thing how you arrive to that, right? But this is what's been the case. So it was the women in the Western world that have kind of started to go for those type of men. Or basically, part of the attractiveness of male was also that this is a smart, intelligent guy. Not just somebody that solely has money. Hey, he's a guy whose family has money. Well, those people, those are 1%ers. They will always exist in every society. But I'm talking about middle class people, working class, middle class, and even to some extent upper middle class, right? Although in America there's a thin line between upper middle class and rich class. But basically the bulk work of society, the 80% of people that kind of are between outcasts and homeless and those grifters, and the 1%ers or 10%ers. So that kind of bulwark of society. In those societies, this is what women went for. A man who's capable, smart, intelligent, sensitive to a degree, right? Who has certain principles, certain character, certain traits that are deeper than just, oh, he has money. Women in the Muslim world are literally, this is a woman in the Muslim world, and after this I'm going to have to go to the bathroom to throw up, to puke. That's how disgusting this is. You meet a Muslim woman, she's actually asking you how much is your salary, what kind of car you drive, and how much is your home worth, and do you own a house? These are the questions, the first 4 questions. You just met a random Muslim woman. Now, I met a lot of women in my life. A lot of them. I'm still single, by the way. So that's important to mention for 2 reasons. One of them is, it tells you I'm still meeting women. You sometimes meet these people that you went to high school with or maybe college with, and you realize, hey, there is somebody who's been married for the last 30 years. I'm exaggerating a little bit, right? But last 20 years, I have friends who have been married now for 20 years, seriously, whose children now are having children. I'm 43 years old, so yeah, I could be potentially a grandpa if I had got married 20 years ago, which I could have. I was close to marrying a woman, actually, asking her to marry me, and things didn't go through in my mid-20s. Anyway, before mid-20s, actually, I guess early 20s. It didn't happen, but I don't want to get into that now. The point I'm trying to make is you realize that person has met maybe talked to 5 women in a sexual context. Everything else, if he did, he was cheating on his wife. I talked to a lot of women, from every background, every class, every type you can imagine. Lately it's been horrible, by the way. The whole dating world is insane now. But it wasn't always like that. I have never actually met a woman who's like from, let's call her West, and then I include Bosnian women there. I've never met a woman where you like literally kind of talk to somebody, is like, they're asking you like, what is your salary? How much is your home worth? Do you own a home? And what kind of car you drive? This is the Eastern thing. And this is important. It's not just the Eastern thing that comes from the East, and apparently Muslim world has succumbed to that because Islam exists mostly in the Eastern world. But it is unconscionable. Like, if you ask me that question, I have zero sexual interest in you from that point on. You might as well be a thing. You might as well look like a tree. I know you are a living creature, just like trees are, but I can't really sympathize with the tree that much. I don't want to hurt the tree. I don't want to cut its branches off. I don't even want to cut its leaves off. I understand that the tree is a living creature, but I have no emotional connection to a tree. That's how I look at these women. I mean, this is literally how they operate. It's like you meet them, and before you had, and I understand that there's a certain practicality to it, but this is so unconscionable to me. It's like you literally looking at the arrangements like, hey, I just met you, and she's like just looking at you as a dollar sign. Like, if you do not meet her, I would never even answer these questions out of self-respect and dignity and honor that I have as a human being. But the fact that you literally come to that within first, I would say, about 60 seconds of talking to a Muslim woman. By Muslim, I mean, I take Bosnian women out of it, because I guess what I really mean about Muslim women from the Eastern world. Let's put it like that. I don't know how else to put it. They're literally asking you, how much is your salary? Do you own a home? And if so, how much it's worth? And what kind of car you drive? I mean, what? I'm talking about in real life. You meet a woman or online, but like you meet her like in a chat room or something, like where you're meeting like real people. I'm not talking about some dating sites or that nonsense. I mean, somewhere we like meet real people, like on Facebook, perhaps, some Facebook group or chat or whatever it is, right? Or in a real life. If you actually start to talk to her as a woman, that's how she sees you. And this is what Muslim women are doing all across the world. And the reason why I give them some pass is because they have been completely exterminated from public life by the Muslim society. Or the conservativeness of the Muslim society, which goes completely contrary to what Islam is in its origin, the abject conservatism of Muslim societies that exist in the East are so despicable. Women have been completely exterminated from any discourse. So anything woman has to say doesn't exist. So she has zero input in society. So if that's her role, and she understands that to be her role now, she might as well say, well, fuck you then. All I want from you then, at least give me a good life. That's it. This is my role? Like I will have no input at all? Well, fuck you. I want to live a good life then. At least support me and get the fuck out of my face. I can see why they came to that point. But the fact that they have succumbed to that, and that they think that Islam itself is what oppressed them and not their conservative society, is despicable. Because when they seem to rebel, they rebel against Islam, not against conservativeness in the society. And they should own the Islam themselves. But the bottom line is, irregardless how it came to that point, this is how they are now. So when you talk to a Muslim woman, she doesn't look for any kind of virtue or high level value or intelligence or character or principles. None of those things matter. None of those things. They don't play any role whatsoever in what kind of man they will choose. You have money? Great, take me. I'll give you children. And they're raising generations upon generations upon generations of a deadbeat people who are basically zombies. And this is how, over a couple of centuries of that, you come to a point where you have a society, you have a world population of 2 billion people that can be beaten into submission, into total and utter humiliation, where you're watching live on TV daily children being killed, executed, bombed out of existence. You're watching that. Tell me, when was the last time that you ever seen anything like that? When was the last time you have ever seen anything like that? I haven't even seen this in a fucking African wars with completely failed societies. I haven't seen anything like that. I haven't seen anything like that where somebody is coming in there who's your enemy and is exterminating you, spitting in your face, pissing on you, shitting on you, and these people are sitting there and watching it, all of that happening, and fucking, they can't even, this is how that happens. Funny thing, it's actually very easy to get out of that. You can get out of it in a nanosecond. In a nanosecond. All you have to do is to eliminate the negative selection and move on to positive selection. To set up society where you take people who are most capable to give them the positions of power and influence, not the least capable. Most intelligent, not the least intelligent. So you just take switching of the key, just turn it into this direction. How hard is that to actually implement? Seemingly impossible. It's basically analogous to losing weight. When you see somebody who's fat, it's very easy. It's very easy. His problem is as easy as a cake. How? How is it easy? Think about how hard it is to cure cancer. We don't really know how to cure cancer. Hey, you have cancer? I don't know. We can try a million different things, but you're probably going to die anyway. Hey, you're fat? Very easy. Stop eating. That's it. It's very easy. Stop eating. We all know somebody who's fat in our life, or we have at some point either been fat, or more fat than we wanted to be, or for whatever reason wanted to lose some weight. Think about how hard it is to lose weight. Think about, at any point in time when you struggle with it, how hard was it to lose 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds, however many pounds you had to lose, or you wanted to lose. Think about how hard that was. But why? It doesn't depend on anybody else. It's very easy. You already know the solution. There's a cure for that. You have a 100% proof of the cure. You don't eat, you lose weight. But you can't stop. You cannot actually implement something that easy. This is the same thing that's going on in Muslim society. You cannot implement these positive selections. You cannot implement positive virtues even though you know that's the only problem. Or maybe they don't even know that yet. I'm giving them that perspective. But even if they know that, to implement that, It seems to be something they are not, they will be incapable of doing. And like I said, as a result of all of that, you have society that is basically at this point zombies. And Samadragi Allah Joshanu, only God, Allah Joshanu, who knows. I don't know if I started to speak this in English or Bosnian. I suppose it's English. So I'm going to end it in English. Only Allah Joshanu, who knows how all this is going to end. And I put full trust in God to do as He has preordained. It's already been done. This is nothing new. Whatever it is has already happened. And I believe in God, and I put my full trust in God. Whatever God has decreed, let it happen. But that's something that I wanted to say. And precisely because I believe in Allah Jalla Shanuhu, I understand that the only way to make impossible possible is through the intervention of Allah Jalla Shanuhu. And the way Allah Jalla Shanuhu stated in the glorious Quran is, become a believer, believe in Allah, and the one who used to be your enemy will become your friend. Think about that statement. This is the most powerful statement. You had Arabs who used to fight one another for millennials. I mean, they never had any kind of a unified society there. That was like inconceivable to even imagine. They were constantly engaged in these tribal warfare. That was part of the kind of living on the frontier of Arabia. It was outside of the main empires, like the Roman Empire and Persian Empire. They were in contact with them. They were right there in between. But they were in the desert. Nobody really bothered to conquer them. They're very warlike people. But they were kind of frontier people. And what do? They fight one another. And Islam came and unified all of them. It was through the love. Allah Jalla Shanuhu has put love in their heart. So Allah Jalla Shanuhu is the only one who can make impossible possible in such an easy way. So if Muslims come together, truly submit their will to the will of Allah, and truly do that, Allah Jalla Shanuhu can make them change immediately. They first have to desire that change, and if they do, and they come to Allah Jalla Shanuhu, He will change their hearts. He will open up their hearts to make positive selection when it comes to giving people different functions instead of negative selection. And once you start that change, it becomes like a snowball effect. Like you just like runaway train. Because you can't stop it. It becomes a force of nature. At that point, everything can change. And this is exactly how, within a matter of one generation, like at one point in time, there isn't such a thing as a Muslim state. Then Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam goes to Medina, establishes a Muslim state, and then within next 20 years, within next 25 years, from the date of the establishment of, think about it, 25 years, from the day that the Constitution of Medina was signed, 25 years later, Islam controls everything from Morocco to India. Wow. That is unconscionable. That is unconscionable. That is impossible to believe. So all kinds of things can happen if you actually truly and honestly submit yourself to the will of Allah. And at that point, this whole thing with women choosing the type of man that would, there would be the equivalence of, I don't even want to use the terms like low class. It's not about that, but just low value. It's the value that just based on strictly, can this guy provide me money? And that's it. And of course, it does have to come from women. You can't force it, but it's a problem in Muslim society. We have to face that there is a problem in the Muslim society in how women are treated. Because, women ultimately make these decisions. They choose what man they're going to go with, even in a patriarchal society. You can't force a woman to be with you. I mean, for goodness sake, you can't just be in the presence of somebody for 50 years if that person hates your guts, right? It doesn't work like that. So they still make a choice, but they're looking for a man who are just going to give them a certain type of life, and nothing else matters. No other kind of principles and values and virtues in a man. And once you make this change, once this shift happens, this is exactly what they should be then looking for. Now, women have to desire to be treated differently. They can actually ask for that. They can demand that. Instead, they run away and, well, not run away, but I mean, they run around and follow these Western, truly degenerate values such as feminism. I mean, that's embarrassing, actually. To even like call yourself feminist, I think it's embarrassing. I said it's a woman's origin or Muslim decline. But the reason why that is because men have, in the Muslim societies, have truly devalued women. And this is how the women are paying them back. So there's a way that this can be changed. And I truly believe that if Muslims desire that change, they can make that change. And if anything can wake them out of the slumber that they're in, out of the deep, deep, deep sleep that they found themselves in, is to every single day be forced to look at their Muslim brothers and sisters be just genocided out of existence. And that there is nothing being done about it. That the Muslim world is just looking as part of its body is being obliterated. Can you imagine if somebody was taken, like just beating your foot? That's what Muslims are. One single body all over the world. If you don't believe that, you're not a Muslim, and that's it. And then maybe we should say, maybe there are no 2 billion Muslims in the world, because if you do not believe that every single Muslim on the planet is part of the Muslim body, then you're not actually a Muslim. So perhaps there are only 2 million Muslims in the world. And at that point, there is actually 10 times more Jews than Muslims, if that's the case. But that's a litmus test. If you do not believe that every single Muslim on the planet is part of the Muslim body, of the Muslim Ummah, if you do not believe that, you're not a Muslim. You cannot be a Muslim. And if you do believe that, how can you possibly let your body rot without doing something about it? How can you possibly, this is inconceivable. During the Caliphate, this couldn't happen. If there was any Muslim being hurt or being oppressed in any part of the world, they would just declare a war immediately and go to help those Muslims. This is inconceivable to believe some Muslims are going to be subjugated. Muslims have never been subjugated. This is a new phenomenon. That somebody can just go around and start shooting and killing Muslims. Muslims have to awaken from this slumber. And if this genocide doesn't awaken them, then it's the end of it all. Seriously, I'm not exaggerating. This is the end of it all. And what's going to come after that is the preparation for the end. Because there is really nowhere else to go. There is nothing in the West that's going to save the world. The West is collapsing. It's the process of collapse. It's going to be a very, very fast collapse. China is, I don't believe in China's good intention or in China doing anything positive on its own. There isn't like a single atom of my body that believes in China's being able to do anything positive. China is nothing more than Gog. That's what they are. Majuj. So if there is no awakening within Islam to go ahead and obliterate all of these degenerates around the world who are killing Muslims, unified from within, get together, make yourself as powerful as the nucleus of an atom, and then just repel all of these invaders. You can do that in a nanosecond if you just unify together with the love of, with the belief in Allah. If this doesn't happen, then I really think it's the end of the world. I think what's going to happen in that case, there's going to be a worldwide destruction, some kind of a nuclear event. I don't know who's going to start it, but what I do know is that once it happens, we're going to go back to exist in a world that's going to look very similar to the world from the scriptures, right? Old school world. It's not going to be technological world. And that will mean that all of those things about return of coming of Mahdi and return of Isa alayhi salam, I never could quite imagine how will he return into this modern world. This is just an ugly, ugly world. But once there is a complete holocaust of some sort, and I mean just the destruction of society, destruction of the modern society, I think what's going to happen, that world looks like the type of world where the end is going to actually occur, the ending of the ultimate end of the world. And that's going to be signified first and foremost by coming of Mahdi, who's going to then finally bring a total victory to those few Muslims who remain after this event takes place. Those few Muslims who actually remain with Mahdi, Hazreti Mahdi will have a victory, conquer the entire world, and destroy the evil, destroy the shaitan. Mahdi will destroy him, and then Isa alayhi salam will return, and there will be a final act that will bring about the end of the world thereafter. I think we are in that time. So it's an interesting time that we are living in, and we have to bring this ourselves. Allah Jalla Sha'anu will not save us until Muslims show the desire that they want to be saved, that they pray to be saved, that they are doing anything in their power to bring about change, and that they're doing it with the belief in Allah, with the love of Allah, and through Allah Jalla Sha'anu, love of all of their Muslims, brothers and sisters. I believe something's going to happen very soon. I think we're on the precipice of something big, and we'll see how it all turns out.